Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkey's Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Your dogs deserve the very best, and that's exactly what Elite Nutrition Canine Products delivers. Packed with premium ingredients and backed by science, their formulas are designed to boost energy, support joint health, and keep coats shiny and strong. Whether you've got a working dog, a hunting partner, or just a loyal best friend, Elite Nutrition gives them the fuel they need to thrive. Don't settle for ordinary. Choose the nutrition your dog deserves. Find Elite Nutrition Canine Products today and give your dog the Elite Edge. Go to shopeliteglobal.com and use the code TREE10 on your next purchase.
I don't have very many stories to tell about them. I hunted them dogs for, I guess about 50-something years, and I'd rather hunt them than any dogs I ever hunted,
With over 50 years of experience, I'm sure you got quite a few good stories.
Well, just the people that I've beat in the hunts and stuff like that, Sometimes people would get jealous about dogs and stuff like that, and they would try to bring something could beat them, and they could never do that. And they'd finally try all kind of stuff,
Yeah.
They'd put, if we went to a hunt and I'd rode out with somebody else, they would, if it was any dogs that they thought was night champions or anything, but they'd put them with my dog because my dog had already beat them, and they'd want that dog to get beat.
Okay.
But they never could beat them black dogs. They just followed them around forever, trying to beat them, and never could get it done.
Yeah. Would you say the jealousy there was a lot of jealousy back then?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they was some people that would tell that your dog's done something that they didn't do, and you let them hunt some of the good night champion dogs of mine, and they'd come back and tell tales about it that they didn't do, and you know how people is.
Unfortunately, no matter what,
yeah.
people are always going to do something.
Yep. That's about the only kind of stuff I've got to tell about them.
Well, I'm sure you got plenty of good stories of just good hunts.
I could probably still think of some stories to tell about going to hunts, and what happened and everything like that. Is that what kind of stories you want?
Absolutely.
Well,
before we get started with the stories, why don't you introduce yourself, Pat?
Okay, my name is Pat Blanton.
How old are you, Pat?
88.
88, man.
Yeah.
And you said how long did you hunt? You coon hunt, squirrel hunt, what up? When did you get started, and what did you get started with?
I started with one of those black dogs when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
And close to where Hugh Stephens bought his first black dog.
Gotcha.
And he brought it back when I was 10 years old. I hunted with this black dog, and he was my dog. I don't know where I got him or what about it, but back then there wasn't no coons, and this one guy that lived, neighbor guy, old Nig, had treated a coon.
Mm-hmm.
And me and my daddy, actually, I'd go out this little path of a night, and I'd take Nig and this other little dog I had, and And I'd walk them down this way a little bit, just as quick as I walked out there a little way, so they'd take off to the woods. And I would go back in the house, and directly I'd go back in the house, and I'd say, Daddy, old Meg's treed back there.
Nice.
And he'd get his clothes, I'd get his shoes and stuff on, we'd take off to him. Sometimes he'd have a possum, sometimes a groundhog, and one night he had a coon.
There you go.
First one I ever seen. We finally got it shot out with a little old gun, and this neighbor guy heard that there was some coons over on Burn River. He come out there, he said, "Would you loan me old Mig?" I said, "Yeah." And he got to taking him over there catching coons with him. And I don't know whether he kept the dog or when you're 10 years old, you don't remember too much stuff.
Gotcha.
And I can't remember whatever happened to old Nig till I got on my own, got to hunting with Hugh Stephens with these black dogs. And I know that he bought his first black dog at Morgantown, and that was pretty close to where I lived. And that dog had to be related to old Nig because they was exactly like him. They sounded just like him in the woods and hunted just like him. And it had to be that same breed of dogs.
Gotcha.
And Hugh come in there to his hometown, and he started breeding them. He had old Pooch and Brownie was his first two black dogs. One of them was brown dog, one of them black dog. Well, he bred the ring guys to some of them dogs, and he come up with whole bunch of these little black dogs, and I got to hunting with him, and I liked them so well. I got me one from him, and then I started raising them, and they was a little smaller dog than I liked. Okay. And I bred them the way I wanted to breed them, and I come up with some powerhouses. I mean, they might have had a little hound in them, and they might have had a little of this and a little of that in them, but they all turned out to be. And one time some guy told this Hugh's son, he said, somebody told me that Pat bred every dog, everything, all kinds of dogs in them dogs. He said, well, I don't know what he done, but said, I sure do like it. He would come to go hunting with me at Jim Wood, and I'd take some of my dogs, and he would like what he saw. He got to want me to come to the hunts, and I got to go into the hunts, and I got to winning them all.
There you go.
And people would come in there to hunt, and we would hunt a little ring one night. He said, this guy come in there from Bowling Green. He said he had a blue tick female, and we were hunting close to the park, and his female went out in this cornfield, struck. He looked at me. He said, I called a strike on you. He said, I'm going to call a tree on you, too. I said, well, you may do it. I guess he'd heard about them dogs. Well, Rang, he just come across the road in front of all of them about 100 yards, and just as quick as he went in the woods, he sat down and treed. He had a little coon over up, a little bitty old bush over there. We got that out, shook it out. And then we went I heard Rang barking back in the woods back over there. It didn't sound right. I told the judge, I said, that dog, he don't bark like that. I said, he's barking, booger barking. Well, he said, let's go to him. And we went over where he was at, and he was swimming in a big pond, around and around the big old coon. He wouldn't let the coon get close to him, and he just swam around it and around it, barking. The judge said, well, I could give you your strike points, but said, I can't give you no tree points on a trail like that. And I said, that's okay. His Rang was already 175, and I give him another 100 points on the strike and that other tree he made. They said, let's call time to go to Park Mammoth. I said, okay. We called time, went over there, and they went down this little old dinky track there, and Rang, he just like he throwed on his brakes, just went up a big bank there and started treeing. The judge said, Rang's wanting to do it again, Andy. I said, yeah, tree him. And just stuff like that there happened to me with them dogs all the time.
Yeah.
Everywhere I'd go, they'd just outdo everything we was hunting with.
Were you hunting just the Stephens hunts? Were you hunting NKC? Were you hunting?
Yeah, we was hunting with all kinds of dogs. They people registered red bones, registered blue ticks, and all kinds of night champion dogs and everything. I hunted against all of them.
Okay.
And one night we went to a hunt with old Ring, and Ring was about my first competition dog. That's when I first started competitions, when he got to beating everybody around through that we hunted with. Well, I thought, well, I ought to go to some of them hunts like that with him. I got to go into them hunts with him, and people, they got jealous of him, you know, because he was a little old cur dog. He looked like a little hound's what he looked like.
Okay.
Have you ever seen any of them?
Yeah.
You know what they are?
Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar with the breed. Not quite as familiar with the history, which is one of the things I'm really enjoying so far.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm going back to Hugh now. Hugh, he bred old Pooch. He called the first little red black dog he had Pooch, and the next one was Gramps, and one was Ring Eye. And he bred a lot of pups out of Ring Eye, because he was the number one dog, too. And there was Pooch and Brownie. They had such noses on them. Everybody thought Hugh had quit hunting in the night. Them little dogs would trade coons in the daytime. That's how good a noses they had.
That's good.
He said he told me, he said, I've seen them little dogs get up on a bank and rear up on their hind feet and smell in them den trees and start treeing. And Roscoe McDaniels, he had a mate there, Ring Eye, little Alice. And I went on a wild coon hunt with her one night, and I mean, she really impressed me. Her and Ring Eye, they was litter mates. Okay. Little Alice and Ring Eye. And then here comes Howard's old Ring. That's Hugh's brother, Howard Stephens. That was his Howard's old Ring, they called him. He was an outstanding dog. Mm-hmm. Then here was Jet and Gramps and all them murder dogs that Hugh hunted. And my dogs, I hunted old Smokey and Ring, Dixie. I had a lot of them good dogs like that. And after they got the pretty good age on them, I'd give them to some of them people that I thought a lot of at the hunts that never had a dog like them. And I give them dogs, and they never raised no pups out of them at all. Some of them went to Ohio, and some of them went to Illinois. And
that's a shame.
Yeah, they didn't raise no pups. I give him Dixie. After she got age on her, after I get one as far as I could take it, I'm done with it.
Okay.
And Hatfield, I give him all of my dogs when I got to work on hunt. And he raised and sold a lot of pups.
Yeah.
And with our dogs, I won the world hunt twice with them in Illinois, Indiana.
Okay.
And I won all kind of hunts with them. That's just about all I can say about it.
Yeah. So what year did you get an actual registered Stephens?
Yeah, I didn't register none of my dogs for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Until they got their, I forgot they all went to Crossville, Tennessee down there and bred into a lot of them Leadbetter curs and bobtail dogs, and they just wasn't coming up with their part of it like the black dogs was, and they all fell out down there, and I never did have but one of them, and it was half black and half brindle.
Okay.
And it was a good dog. It was a real good coon dog. But that's all I ever hunted my dogs was coons.
Okay. How did you meet Hugh?
We met, I reckon we met at a coon hunt. It was a coon hunt, the first coon hunt I was ever at in my life. Hugh Stephens was there.
Okay.
And he was hunting, old Pooch, that there dog. And next time I went, he had raised some pups, little Alice. He'd raised her and Ring Eye.
Okay.
And I fell in love with little Alice. I liked her better than Ring Eye for a long time, because she was a little dog that could just take a track and just eat it up in a tree. Roscoe McDaniels owned her. And he said, this guy was hunted with Roscoe. He said, I'll tell you what, he said, when I was in a coon hunt with her, I hated her. He said, when I hunted her forever, said I loved her.
Yeah.
She was such a good little dog. She wasn't big as nothing, hardly. She was brown with a blaze face, and she had some tan on her legs. I never would forget how she looked, and I was just a young boy then.
Okay.
And but I fell in love with them little dogs, and that's all I ever hunted from then on. Just I never hunted nothing else when I got started in them, and the people that I hunted with, I wouldn't hardly let nobody. When I raised them, I sent them way off. I didn't want nobody around here that I had to hunt with to have any of them.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'd have to hunt against them.
Yep.
And sometimes I'd give one of my friends a pup, to hunt with me. And I'd say, now, if you ever get rid of that dog, I want it myself back.
Yep.
They'd say, okay. Somebody come in here from Illinois or somewhere and hunt with that dog, and they'd offer him a big price and him just a kid, well, he'd sell it.
Yep.
They wouldn't get around me for a long time. I said, I'm not mad at you for selling the dog. I said, but that ain't the agreement we had.
Yep.
And just stuff like that just went on all the time, And,
oh yeah.
but they were still yet my friends. They still yet are, but they've grown up now and they're getting up around 50, 60 years old. But they were just, I was in the 30s and 40s. They were just 12 to 13-year-old kids.
Yep.
But I needed somebody to hunt with, and I'd give them a pup.
Oh yeah.
And this guy come in here from up north there, and he had a red bone female. And me and him, he wanted to go hunting with Ring. And I said, well, let's go. We went hunting. He raised them there timber chopper reds all of his life.
Mm-hmm.
He said, Blanton, I have never went out of my stock and breed a dog before. But he said, would you let me breed her to Ring? Goldie, called her Goldie. I said, well, sure, I'd let you breed her too, because you're a good friend. He bred her. She had 3 pups. He gave me one. He could give his brother one, and he kept one. And the one he kept was a little female, and she would go under roots in the lake out there, under where the water rushed her out of under the bank. I've seen her go underneath there running the coon.
Wow.
And he said he told me, that's the best dog I've ever owned in my life. And he raised them red bones all his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me one pup, the male pup. Well, my neighbor over here, he was a boy that had hunted with me all the time, and he liked that male pup. I said, okay, Benny. I said, I'll give you that pup. I said, to hunt with me. And I said, when they get ready to get rid of it, if you want to sell it or give it away or anything, I said, I want it back, because it was out of Ring in one of them timber chopper reds.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a real good, black, smooth-looking dog. It had a good mouth. And he came over one night after that pup got about 14 to 15 months old, and he wanted to go hunting. I said, okay, we'll go. And we went up on Bear Creek up there, and Ring went up one road, up one holler, and this pup went up over towards the creek. And over there in a willow right on the creek bank, that pup treed. And we got there, that dude was a slobber. I mean, he was a trend. I told Benny, I said, that's just like he's supposed to do. I said, that's the way them timber chopper reds, they're slobber tree dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, this hot shot come in here from Illinois, and he'd try to buy every dog in the country, and nobody wouldn't want to sell him one. Benny, he told Benny, I said, I'll give you $700 for that dog. He went hunting with him, and Benny sold him to me. He said, well, Pat, I wouldn't care if you to care if he was selling for that much. And I said, well, Benny, I said, that wasn't the deal we made, but I said, I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
Well, I never did hear from the dog anymore.
Unfortunately.
So I know he made a heck of a dog.
Yeah.
And I was training another pup. This guy come in here from Illinois. He said, come in from Moline, Illinois. And he said, have you got a started dog that you'd sell me? And I said, yeah, I got a started dog to sell you. He said, what do you want for it? I told him $200 or $300, just a young dog. And he bought that dog and took him back to Moline, Illinois. And that was one of the outstandingest dogs in that country. It was up in there. He was a real black dog. He really made a good dog for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's come back and bought more dogs after that. Well, that's about all I know.
I was told to ask you about a dog named Zero.
Oh, yeah, I trained him and owned him. Yeah, that there, he took Bill Langford in Texas, wound up with that dog.
Okay.
Yeah, that there guy from Illinois, he was sitting on my porch every Friday night when I got in from work. I come to buy that black dog. I said, that dog, I've told you 1,000 times he wasn't for sale. And he was an outstanding little dog. And him and Nellie, I hunted them together. Nellie was an outstanding little female dog. She was a little brown dog. And every Friday evening when I come home, he'd be sitting on the porch.
Jeez.
And he's the kind of guy that couldn't take too much of him to do you,
Yeah.
And finally, he'd stay all weekend. My wife would cook for him, she was a good person and a good cook, and he'd stay till Sunday evening. She said one time, why don't you sell him that dog and get rid of him? And I said, well, I hate to sell my little dog because I love hunting him.
Mm-hmm.
And, he brought every dog in here from Illinois that he could try to beat that dog. One night he brought two, them there cur dogs, some kind of cur dogs, looked like greyhounds. He said, you haven't done every dog that we've ever brought down here. He said, I come to beat you tonight. I said, let's go. We went down there to a place, and I was close to a big hollow down there, and now them dogs went out of here and just like a wind going out of here. When I heard that little black dog coming back, he's the only one coming back. He threw them other dogs out back there some way, and he's the only one out here that's coming back. And he was running so hard, he was just going, like that. He sat down treed on a big hickory tree over there. And we got there before his dogs did. Well, Zero, he had run into the side of a tree, looked like, and skinned the side of his head there, right up above his eye. And he'd been under a fence or something, and right between his shoulders up there, he had a gash up there where he'd been under a fence or something. Mm. And that made me mad. And I told him, I said, look, you brought every dog you could try to beat that dog. I said, don't you never bring another dog back here to hunt with him. I said, you can't beat him. And from then on, he was sitting on the porch every Friday night. And finally, he bought him, and he took him up there to Illinois, and then that there Bill Langford from some sort of Texas, I forgot what it was. Well, he bought the dog and gave him $2,500 for it.
Okay.
And that's about the end of that story. Now, here's the rest of it. He said, I'll raise you a pup from that dog. I said, now, let me tell you something. I said, I don't never want to see you or that dog again. that's what that's what I meant, because I didn't want to let my dog go, but it was either that was the only way I could get rid of him.
You're nicer than me. I would have run him off without selling my dog.
You, yeah, yeah. Well, I tried every way to get rid of him, but I couldn't get rid of him. My wife said, "Why don't you sell him that dog and get rid of him?" I said, out there on the bank that night, I said, "I'm going to sell you that dog." He said, "I'll raise you a pup." I said, "Look," I said, "I don't never want to see you or that dog again." We'd go to them hunts and he'd tell people I told him that. Well, that's just the way I felt about it.
That's funny.
Because he'd aggravated me so much about that dog. And me, I'd love it every time I hunted him. I loved him that much more. I'd go summers a hunting. I had a car I hunted out of it back then, and that little dog, he'd lay there in the front seat and lay his head on my leg, or he'd lay there all the time until we got where we was going. Now, a dog like that loves you, you know it. He loved me and I loved him. But I got a pup out of him up there, out of his old ring. Brought old Ring in here, and I started hunting him, and he was an outstanding little dog. He was one of my best competition dogs. And he come in here somewhere at the hunt one night. He said, "I want to buy that dog." I said, "What do you want for him?" I said, "Now look here." I said, "If you ever want to speak to me again, don't you offer me nothing for that dog." He never did. He said, I take him at his word. I never did offer him nothing for him. But I hunted Ring till he just about aged out on me. And then I come in here from down in the lower, around Kentucky Lake down there, and bought him and Nick both. That was my two last dogs.
Okay.
Till this old guy. I went to Crossville, Tennessee. My missus getting wound up now, ain't I? I went to Crossville, Tennessee, and my friend did down there to a hunt, and I said, "I got this pup I'm going to take down there and sell." Little, about 7 or 8 weeks old pup. And I took her down there and sold her to this guy. 3 or 4 years later, this guy from North Carolina called me and said, "I've got one of your dogs," and said, "She's really a good dog." Said, "I call her Midnight." Said, "Where could I take her and breed her to her family?" I said, "There's a guy down here at the land between the lakes got my stock of dogs." I said, I sold him the first dogs he ever had. I said, "He likes the same kind of dog I do." I said, "He's got a dog down there you can breed to." Well, that old feather, he drove 15 hours to get down there to breed that dog.
Jeez.
He took her and bred her. He told that guy down there, he said, "I'm going to see if Mr. Pat gets one of them pups." Well, one day he called me and he said, "Pat," he said, "I've got you the prettiest black pup ever was." I said, "Where can I meet you?" I said, "I'm coming through Nashville a certain day." I said, "Well, down there at the Briley Parkway at the Bass Pro Shop would be the easiest place for you to find me, too." Yeah, I said, "I'll meet you there." I said, "Well, tell me when you're going to be there, and I'll meet you down there." I'd just about quit hunting. I didn't want no dogs. I was getting too old. But I met him down there, and I brought the pup home, and boy, he had a good mouth on him and everything. I told my wife, I said, "You know what?" I said, "It wouldn't be fair to that old man if I didn't train that pup." I started hunting him. And, buddy, let me tell you what, that dude, he would set a deer afar. He could fly. And he never did run one out of here. He'd be right back. Everybody said, "Boy," said, "that's the handlingest pup I've ever seen in my life." And I went ahead, and when he was a year and 20 days old, while he beat a couple of English dogs a tree at a coon, they treed, and he took the coon on and treated. And I have them guys that had their English dogs there. made them so mad. I told him, I said, boy, bring your gun up here. I said, this pup's got the coon treed. And I thought that'd be tickle him to death. That old man said, well, it's done something. And he was a year and 20 days old. I said, well, what are you talking about? I said, if that had been your pup, I said, I'd have been tickled to death for you.
Yeah.
To see him treeing a coon like that, taking it away from them old dogs, treating him when he was a year and 20 days old.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And all the dogs that I've ever owned, that was one of the coon treeingest dogs that I've ever owned. I don't know if there's more coons at his age, that time, or what it was, but as long as you stay with him, he'd tree a coon about every hour.
Nice.
Just as long as you wanted to stay with him, and I let Hatfield have him and keep him till he died.
Sounds like a good one. Conkey's Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkey's motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkey's carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well.
Yep, boy, he was the best one I've ever had. Handling and treed and everything, and more coons. He was a handling dog. I never did call him, and when he wasn't running, he didn't come to me.
Okay.
I'd call him, he'd come to me, and he was a beautiful dog. That was old Smoky Boy. You'll probably read about him and saw so many good dogs. Did you ever hear about him?
Chad sent me a picture of him, but that was, or mentioned him. He sent me some pictures of a few of your dogs.
Yeah, they was all night champions, and it was all American tree dogs. But I told them people, don't make my dog American tree dog unless he's a night champion. That's the way I looked at it.
So how do you win an All-American tree dog?
Huh?
How did you win?
You had to be nominated. You know,
Okay.
had to people who hunted with him had to nominate the dog. And old Smoky Boy, he was 2 years old. And them people that hunted with him, about what kind of people that told him what kind of dog he was and how he could tree coons and run a track and everything. And we went to a meeting one night. We had our meeting, and after we had our meeting, this good guy said, I've got something else for you here. I said, what do you got? They started pulling out letters and reading them at people that wrote in about that dog.
Nice.
About how he could tree a coon. And some guy said, I've seen him tree 3 coons in 2 hours. Just stuff like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That they wrote all them letters in there. He was All-American Tree Dog. They nominated him for All-American Tree Dog, and he won it when he was 2 years old.
But he wasn't the only All-American tree dog you've ever owned, is he?
No, I've got more. Well, I've got more All-American Tree Dogs than all the other people in the association.
Who else won it?
Yeah, I did have. I don't know how many's in there now or nothing, but I did have about 8 or 9.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's a lot.
Yeah, and this one old guy went a hunting women, and they was telling about getting up and telling stuff, you know. And this old guy got up and said, "Y'all never said nothing about Pat Blanton having more All-American Tree Dogs than anybody else." They told it then. They said he has. Said we in the book. They've got them in the book, you know.
Okay.
All of them, it's All-American Tree Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I done real good with them. I thought they was the best dogs ever was, and I always will think that. I had to quit hunting Smoky Boy when he was 5 years old, and he should have been at his best right then.
Yeah.
One night, though, this older guy had been my friend all her life, and he got to want to coon hunt. And Chad and him went to Hatfield. We went back over here behind the house by the lake over there, and he treed 3 coons on this one side of this hillside that night. And he was running again, and there's a road goes back up to the truck where we was at. I told that old man, I said, Smokes are running over there. I said, me and Chad would go to him, and I said, you get this road, you go right back to the truck. I said, you wait for us at the truck till we get back. Well, he treed that one. That was slower. And Chad was skinning them. And he skinned. I shot that one out to him. He skinned it. I was holding on the leaves. I turned him loose, and he took off. And time Chad got that skinned, he had another tree. And we got it. And I sat there, hold him, drink right, just rested out. I snapped him. He took off over the hill there. He treated another back over on the lake, and we got to him. Chad, coons he treated that bad. And Chad said, if you don't hold, if you tell him loose anymore, we'll get out of here. He said, but he would treat them. I don't know how many nights he treated 6 coons by 12 or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just as long as you'd stay with him, he'd treat them coons.
Mm-hmm. I heard you like to hunted off a mule a lot.
Yeah. After I got old where I couldn't pull them hills, we hunted off of the mules a long time. Jim Stephens, the guy's son, come up and hunted with us on the mules. We always had a extra mule, for somebody to ride to come down with us.
Yeah. And
that old bear dog, we had some younger dogs, and they would catch coons going to them. And old bear man, he was a gold yonder dog. He'd stay treed all night. We'd be riding on them hills, somebody about the top of them hills on the mules, and I tell the buddy, I say, we keep getting up on top of these hills. I said, we're going to hook up an old bear directly. Directly we'd get up on top of a big hill, we'd hear him sitting the way, oh. Sometimes we'd get to him if it was muddy around. He'd have a little muddy ring around that tree where he'd sit on his front feet, his back feet went around and around that tree.
Yeah.
He'd have the mud worked up around there. Boy, he was a gold yonder dog. I let him George Savage. I gave him to him when he was I guess 8 years old.
Okay.
And old bear, he treed. He won the Stephens coon hunt when he was 2 years old, and he treated a bunch of coons that night. And the people was all cheering for him that hunted with him. He done such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now you got
any more questions?
You've talked about a lot of good dogs tonight, but which dog? What out of all your dogs? What's the best dog you've ever owned?
Well, Dixie was the best competition dog.
Okay.
Her and Rang was the 2 best competition dogs. Smokey boy would tree more coons than any dog, because I believe there was more coons at his time than it was with their time.
Gotcha.
But he could tree more coons than any dog we ever had. And Dixie, she was a pup. We'd take her with us when she was 3 or 4 months old. We'd take her with us, let her go, and she was so little, young, for them dogs to run through them cornfields and them things like that there, on the creek. Them little coons would climb them little willow trees, and she would tree them coons, and we'd shake them out to her, and she'd just walk around them. She didn't even know what there was. But she was that much of a tree dog, She was always a tree dog.
Mm-hmm.
From her puppy stage on.
Nice.
She was the best competition dog. You know anything else you want to know?
I've been enjoying all these stories. I mean, if you got more, I'm game to listen. But if you're done, we can wrap this one up.
Well, let me think of something. I could tell you about all the hunts that I've been on, me and my buddies' hunts,
Yeah.
They had a big hog roast over here back in the country, and them guys that heard about me and my buddy had a dog apiece, and cur dog apiece, and they were having a roasting a hog all night and have a big get together that day and have a big coon hunt that night. They called me and said, "Why don't you boys bring your cur dogs over tonight and hunt with us?" I said, "Well, we can." And there was one more guy there. He was a judge. He was our judge, and we took our little cur dogs and we went a hunt. Dixie, she treed 2 run-ups. Lady treed 2 layups, and we had 600 plus points apiece when we got back to the clubhouse.
Nice.
And then some of them guys, they didn't know what to think about that, you know. And one guy said, "Oh, they cheated." That guy said, "How the hell could they have cheated?" He said they had a hunting judge with them. The judges had a dog in the hunt, too. Yeah. I don't see how we could have cheated, do you?
Yeah, some crooked judge that wants to award somebody that's not himself points. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that judge, he had his dog in there too. He said, "Well, them dogs is afraid codes." He said, "I'm gonna give me some hard work tonight." Mm-hmm. he had 3rd place in the hunt on the cur dog hunt.
Yep.
And me and Elwood, we won the whole thing.
Nice.
Them 2 little cur dogs. The buddy, them dogs could run a track and they could tree a coon too.
Yeah.
They was Lady and Dixie. They was going down that bank of Rough River where it was wide open. My buddy looked over and they said, "You know what dog's going to get this coon, don't you?" I said, "I think so." He said, "Dixie will get this one." That was my dog.
Yeah.
He told how he knows what a quick tree dog she was. Yeah, he said, "Dixie will get this one." And we went to a lot of hunts and a lot of places, and one we wouldn't win if we didn't get into the right kind of coons and stuff. Well, we didn't win. We didn't win every hunt we hunted in.
What made these black dogs like stand out versus the hounds and the curs that you hunted with?
I guess it's because they had a better nose.
Okay.
I think that they could start a track, you know, and sometimes they'd bark or run up a track a long time before the hounds would ever put in, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And one night, I'll tell you this tale. There was a guy come in here from Indiana. He said, "I want to hunt with them dogs." I said, "Okay." He had 2, had an English dog and a walker. They had just put this lake in down here. They was logs and things all over that lake floating. We went down there and turned them dogs loose, and they hit a coon in that water, and them coons was up on them logs and everywhere else out there in that water, and them little dogs was right in there with them. Them big dogs, they stayed with it as long as they could. Directly they come out, and that guy said, "Well, them dogs tree that coon?" I said, "If they don't, they better." And directly they come out of there and went up on a hill there and treed up a big poplar. And he looked over his dogs. He said, "I'm a good man to kill both of you." I said, "Now, Clevey," I said, "Listen, buddy," I said, "I've seen them little dogs send in a lot better dogs than them." Them little dogs would not quit nothing till that track was finished.
Yeah.
Yeah, they send in a lot of dogs. And another thing I learned out of them dogs, coons don't go in the ground like you think they do. Mm-hmm. That coon will go to a hole, and he'll mess around that hole a little while, and he'll go back the way he come, and he'll get out there so far, he'll make him just a jump just as far as he can. And them dogs go to that hole, they think that's all of it.
Okay.
But I learned a lot from them little dogs that the coon don't go in the ground. They'd come back to where they lost him at. You know, they'd come back, they'd start back at a track, come going back and smelling around and trying to find out what he did.
Yeah.
And directly they'll find where he left out again. So some guy come in here and he said, every time I'd tell him about them dogs, about how few tracks they run if they didn't tree. And he said they was running a track, and he said, "Well, them dogs tree that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "They probably will." I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll give you $1 for every track that they run at they know tree. If you'll give me $1 for every track that they run at the tree. That guy said, you better watch him. Said, I've seen this happen before. Because he knowed I'd bet on them dogs.
Yeah.
Because that was old Zero and Nelly. Now I'm telling you what, buddy, the coon did not fool them two dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They was right there when the track ended. They had the coon. Well, ask me another question.
I honestly didn't know there was off-colored yellow, Stephens dogs until about a year ago. Have you ever had any?
Any what?
Like the off-colored yellow, like a yellow
Oh,
one?
yeah. I've had off-colored. Was that there guy up there in Ohio, George Savage? I gave him on a little off-colored female.
Okay.
And he took her up there. She made him an outstanding dog, and he brought her down there to Greg Henley, and a dog that I'd give him when he was a pup, and bred her to him.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me what to breed her to, and I said, breed her to old Sam. I said, he's doing good. She had 2 pups, 2 little females. Well, George brought me one of the females, and Pete Woods one out in Oklahoma. My little one was the sweetest little dog ever was, but she is silent mouth just about. Now, Smokey could put her hard enough to make her open. But a silent mouth dog, I like to race just as good as I do the tree.
Yeah.
And some guy come in here, and he said, would you sell me that little dog? I said, yeah, one way. He said, would you let me try her? I said, yeah, one way. I said, if she don't suit you, don't you mistreat her no way, because I said, she's the sweetest thing that's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be a hunting her, and she just didn't come in with, quick as you got to the truck, when she'd come in, she'd just come in there, just sit down behind the truck, and just tickle the death, A little dog like that's sweet. You don't mistreat them little dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And, Pete Woods took his little female out there in Oklahoma. He trained her. And he said, Pete told me, said, Tan, he said, she's doing real good. Said, we need to get some pups out of her. I said, well, you're up here. He got that dog holler from, I don't know where they're from, that you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That dog hollers that hauls them all over the country for people.
Yep.
He put her on that truck and set her up here. I met him at McDonald's at Litchfield. Brought her in here, bred her at Smoky, and these boys up in Jeffersonville, Kentucky, they bought 2 of the pups, and I think one of them is still living. Roscoe, they call him. And them people that's down there in Texas, that's the president of the Stevens Curt Hunt now, he drove all the way to Ohio. Pete Woods did to get that dog.
Okay.
Because Pete liked to say, he liked my dogs. He said, you've done more for them dogs than anybody has. He said, I love them dogs that you raise. Pete, he had Hobo. He was an outstanding dog out of Smoky and Molly. And I don't know, Rain, he was out of him, but he was a later year. Little Joe, he was out of him. He was a state champion 2 or 3 years ago. And they was all Smoky and Molly's pups was really good. And, that one out of Tiny and Smoky is still down in there somewhere, but he's too old to breed to.
Okay.
That there Dale come up there at Oklahoma and got him from Pete. He's dead now.
Gotcha.
He was one of my real hunting buddies. He was really into them good dogs too.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him like the same kind of dog. We want a dog that can start a track, and if he get a few barks out of it, he can bring that track alive and do something with it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of dogs that me and Pete liked. And Duck Swift, he had some good dogs too. That guy down there living between the lakes. Just that guy bred drove 15 hours up there to breed this little female through, and give me that pup. But he made a real dog too.
Sounds like
I didn't let the old man down. I trained his pup. He made a real dog.
Sounds like you've had some good ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, I had some of the best. Well, everybody said it was the best dogs that I'd ever hunted with. Even the Stephens, they was just as good as my dogs was just as good as what we started with.
Yeah,
that's just how I kept them bred that good and kept them good. You see, if you look at the looks, there's some guy come in here, Jim. He'd talk about that, and I took old Jake and Poncho, his dog, and put their heads right there together. I said, right there's what they're supposed to look like, what we started out with. At the gym, he always told that huge boy about me doing that. Said, right there's what we started with. That's what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Black dogs with frosty mouth. We went hunting one night when it's 6 below zero. We was going to have a coon hunt up there at the BD's REA office, and nobody would go. The me and Riley Johnson and he's hunted a lot of things, and won a lot of money in the coon hunts and them old mean dogs and everything. He stayed right with it, and one time we was able to have that hunt at 6 below zero, and nobody wouldn't go. They said there ain't a dog in this country can tree a coon tonight, and that's cold snow. Oh, Riley said, I'll bet you everything I got Rain can tree a coon tonight. And Rain did tree one in the Holler Beach. It was 6 below zero. It ain't too bad of walking when it's cold, you know.
If it's just cold and not windy, but you get that wind, it cuts it through.
One that rang up, he was just a pet too, you know, and we pulled up there at the place to go a coon hunting, and I never tied him in the back of the truck. I just had truck bars open. He wouldn't get out if you didn't tell him to. He was just walking from one side of the truck to the other, looking at the people and their dogs. And this one big shot come up there and had his thumb hugging his overalls. He had all overalls, had his thumbs hung on the side of them. He brought 2 boys up there, had 2 registered red bones. He said, look here, said, this guy's got a sooner here, so he's liable to meet you all tonight. Riley Johnson, he was standing over there, he'd hunted a lot with old Ray. He said, Ray, we went to Johnny Rigdon. He was the judge that night. He got back to the clubhouse. He said, I ain't never had nothing to do me as much good as my life. Ray had 2 coons up a big elm tree down there before they even got out of they got through scratching. I told them boys, I said, now look, when we hear they hit a track over there and they went out of here, and I try to be firm with kids, you know. I said, boys, when we get up here, and I said, if you hear the dogs treed, I said, you all tree your own dogs first, and I said, I'll give you all a change. Ray, he had a nose on him like a bloodhound. It was acorn time, and he started a cold track up there on this ridge. Their dogs never did go in on it or nothing. He went and whipped and beat and banged around up there on that hill for a while. Sit down, treed. He had the coon. They never got nothing out of that. That old judge, he said, I never had that to do me as much good in my life. That old guy come up there and said, that soda. He said he didn't think he was no soda when he got back, did he? Yeah. I've had a lot of stuff like that happen, you know. Raleigh said Raleigh had hunted with me a lot, and he said he had red bones, and Rang was just right in there with him, Mister Whippity Statch all the time, And Rang and Raleigh hunted with him, and he liked him. He knows what kind of dog he was. And he said, "Guy said he's liable to beat you. He's got a sooner. He's liable to beat you boys tonight." Mm-hmm. Raleigh said, "You damn right he's liable to. It probably will." Yeah, we got back. He'd won the whole thing. Rang had.
Sounds like he was one heck of a dog, that's for sure.
He was one heck of a dog, man. I hunted him in more hunts than any dog. I hunted him all kinds of hot weather. I hunted him one night when he got so hot he couldn't even bark, just a whistling, just a squeaking. I hunted him. I was. That was probably back in the 70s, and I was just a young man back then.
Okay.
Yeah, I could hunt with any of them, but if wherever there was a hunt at, I was there.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was. Wherever there was a hunt at, I was there. And I've been to Iowa and Illinois and everywhere hunting. Tennessee. We went down there. Them people hunt bears down there in Tennessee all the time.
Yeah.
They had the Stevens memorial hunt down there one time. I was hunting old bear then, and Caleb Suttles, he was a hunting Speedy. We drove out together. And Claude Thomas, you've heard of him, ain't you? He run that. Yep. Okay, he was an awful good fellow. He was coming down there to be the master of hounds. Me and Caleb, we drove out together. And they bear hunted all. That Speedy, she was a bear dog.
Okay.
Smokey, he didn't know nothing about no bears, but he would run them and trail them with them. And we got away from the truck a little ways, and Caleb, he said, I left the dogs was treed, Speedy, and Smokey a bear was treed over there. He said, I forgot to left my leash in the truck. He said, I'm going to go back and get it. I said, I'm going with you. I didn't want nothing to do with them bears if they had a bear treed over.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I was afraid. I told them, I said, boys, who's got the gun? We don't got no gun. They shake trees and try to jump them dudes out to get another race out of them. You never scared me to death. Jim Brewer, one jumped out one night and he took after him, and he run just as hard as he could go. That bear was behind him. I don't know if it was after him or not, but he got to this briar patch and he couldn't go no further. He turned to the right, that old bear turned to the left. That's all that saved him. Now, that's a little bit too close for comfort to me, don't you? Have you ever bear hunted any?
I have.
Have you?
If I lived in a place where you could run bear dogs, I'd have a pack of bear dogs.
Really? Oh, they love it down there better than anything. I sold them a lot of them black dogs. I let Junior, well, we called him Junior. His name was Caleb Suttles.
Yeah.
I let him have a little blaze-faced female. She made a real bear dog. He sold her for $3,700 down there. Mm-hmm. And he called her Smoky Mountain Blaze. And I took him and Stacy Brewer up at the same time. And I reckon killed that male dog, but it never did kill Smoky Mountain Blaze. One time we went down there and went bear hunting, and them dogs went out of here, and we never heard them no more that night. They got all the dogs back but Smokey, and the next day they went told everybody around there to turn off their collars, and they got a pipe in our tracking machine. They said, your dog is right in yonder. Well, we started in there with four-wheelers, and we got him. He'd been out all night running them bears, and Caleb said, I want to breed one of my females to him. Judy, she said, oh, bear, he was just barely getting around. Judy, his wife, said, I don't think he's up to what you all got in mind for him. And but he bred her anyway. Junior called me, said, got your pup ready. Me and my wife, we took off down there to Smoky Mountains, and we got down there and we got the pup and headed back, and we stopped at them rest areas down there, and I'd go back up to the dog box, and she'd just be back there, just the friendliest thing ever was. I come back up there, I told Jenny, I said, that dog's name is Smoky Mountain Kate. But buddy, you talk about a dog that could whoop a coon, she could. And we hunted her and trained her, and she went in the cave on. She stayed in there 20 days before she come out.
Jeez.
And she was the greediest dog ever with that buddy of mine. He said, "But I'll tell you what, these raccoons goes in there, you'll get the best whooping you ever had." But she come out of there in 20 days. Boy, she looked awful.
I'm sure.
And a fellow called Kenny Oney. You remember Kenny Oney? He raised them red ticks.
Okay.
Do you remember him?
I do not.
Him and his brother, Kenny, the Oney brothers. Okay, he lived there in Ohio. He called me one day, said, "You got a dog that I can buy from me?" Because they like my dogs. I said, "Yeah." Sell you Smoky Mountain Kate. And she got back up in good shape after she come out of that cave, and I sold her to him, and then he wanted another, and I let him have Dixie. And they said them was the best dogs that they'd ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
Treat more coons, and Dixie said that Dixie was the best dog they'd ever hunted with.
Nice.
I guess I better hush, and
You're all right. Here, you thought you weren't going to know anything. You wouldn't have any good stories. And, man, we've recorded for about an hour, and you're just rolling. We're definitely going to have to do this again.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've got probably a lot more to tell.
Well, you just think of them, like I said, we'll make sure we do another one of these in maybe another month or two.
Okay, every one of them's the truth.
I understand. Like I said, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, everything I've told you is the truth about them dogs. And a lot of the people that's dead know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm 80. I'll be 89 years old April.
Yeah.
I've done all the old people that just about that know what a coon hunter I was is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few people that hunted with me still around here. Raleigh Johnson, he's still around here. Elwood, some of my buddies that I hunted with, he's still around. He was a young boy when he hunted with me. And me and him would go to Iowa hunting and to Illinois and everywhere hunting. We'd be gone for a couple of days. Take our dogs with us.
Very nice.
I don't have no big tales to tell about that over Iowa. Yeah, I got one more.
All right.
We was going to Illinois. We met at Moline, Illinois. And we stopped, all of us were going to have our wives went with us. And we stopped at the Golden Corral up there to eat supper. Them guys was feeling sorry for me. And they was telling me, said, don't want you to be disheartened with your dog, said, because the ground up here smells a lot different. We use a lot of different chemicals than you all do down there. So the dogs just don't smell good. They don't do as good up here as they do down there in your country. They went ahead and told me all that stuff. And I said, fellas, look, I've raised these dogs for at least 30 or 40 years. I said, when I sit one of them down, wherever I set him down, I expect him to do just exactly like he does at home. Mm-hmm. Well, he won't do it. You don't have any coos we treated that?
A whole bunch?
7. We treated 7 coos. My cousin said, boy, that dog treat every one of them. And he did. He had one coon treated at the Grand Festival where we've got the truck, got our coats on. There's a lot of coons up there.
Yeah.
That was Iowa. Where we was at that night. Yeah, they said, hunting in Iowa that night, they said that your dog won't do as good. They said, boy, after he got through with him, he said, boy, you know your dog, don't you? I said, yeah. You're not a kid. Well, that's about the. There'll be more come to me down through the years, won't there?
Yep.
One time I went down here to hunt down here to Tennessee, and Molly, she had a good nose on her. She had a little hound mouth on her, just bellowed like a little hound. She went up this creek and started to coon. We was standing on this bridge. And them guys were just about to argue their ass off about that ain't your dog. That ain't your dog. I said, well, I know it is. I said, if I raised her from a baby pup, I know it's my dog. Well, it ain't. They was coming down there, this dry branch down there. I said, when they get you, I said, I'll shine my light on her. I'll show her to you there. Well, they said, I'll be damned. I said, I never heard a little dog with a mouth like that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kept saying, that ain't your dog. That ain't your dog. I said, yes, it is, too. Yes, he had a little ball mouth on it, just like a little hound.
Sounds like a good one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've had some good dogs. I wouldn't have a bad dog. That's just where it could be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a bad, but one that does got to do what I wanted to. And that's rare. One night, I had these two pups, and I took them hunting back over here, and they got after a fox. They run that son of a buck all night, and I caught up with them. I didn't have shock collars back then. I caught up with them. I caught up with them about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oof.
And finally got them. And I told them when I put the lead on them, I said, you son of a guns, I said, if I hadn't bred you that away, I said, I'd kill both of you. Yeah, I didn't want them to ever quit a track. That's just one thing, you got to stay with it or they won't stay around me.
Yeah.
You got to stay on that track to do any good.
That's for sure.
Yeah, that's what I told both of them pups that morning about 4 o'clock. And I just barely got home in time to get my stuff and go to work. I've been after them all night. Running a fox. I said, if I hadn't bred y'all to do that, I'd kill both of you.
Yeah.
Well, buddy, it was really nice talking to you.
It was really nice talking to you, too. Really appreciate it.
And that's everything I told you, exactly the way it is.
Sounds good.
The way it was.
Said, we'll definitely have to do this again. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Yep. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talking Media. And until next time, keep them talking in the timber.